Free to observe without bias, to test ideas without dogma, to accept results that break your intuition. Think about it. Quantum mechanics only exists because physicists abandoned classical notions. Imagine if they had insisted, particles must behave like ordinary objects. They would never accept superposition, never accept the observer effect. They would miss the deepest understanding of nature ever achieved. Feynman saw that uncertainty isn't weakness, it's strength. Admitting ignorance opens learning. Pretending certainty shuts it down. So here's the synthesis. The universe operates by physical laws that describe patterns, not purposes. Quantum mechanics. Fundamental reality isn't intuitive. Particles in superposition. Measurement creates reality. Uncertainty is built in. Relativity. Space and time are malleable. Gravity is geometry. The universe has structure, but not necessarily a why. When you ask, why does the universe exist? Feynman's answer is, wrong question. The right question, how does the universe work? And that answer, quantum strangeness, relativistic geometry, emergence, mystery, is more fascinating than any origin myth. Because it's real, testable, observable, and it's still wide open. Every experiment reveals more patterns. Every theory raises new questions. Every discovery shows how little we know and how far we can go. So stop searching for cosmic purposes that might not exist. Start observing the patterns that actually do. Stop asking why and start asking how. Because Feynman's answer isn't a letdown, it's liberation. You don't need a why to be amazed by the universe. The how is enough. What quantum mechanics reveals, what relativity shows, what physics describes. A universe so strange, so elegant, so deeply beautiful that no invented purpose could match it. Reality is stranger than fiction, and way more incredible. Feynman spent his life exploring how developing theories that describe nature with extraordinary precision. Every time someone asked why, he smiled and said, "Let me show you what really happens." This is what it means to live in the question, not seeking false closure. Embracing the ongoing quest for deeper understanding. You can do this too. Look at the universe as it actually is, not as you wish it to be. Question your assumptions. Test your ideas. Accept results even when they shatter your intuition. Because the truth, as quantum mechanics proves, is far stranger and more beautiful than anything you could ever imagine. Right now, as you listen to this, a door is slamming shut forever. Not metaphorically. A legally weaponized door that, once locked, can only be reopened if all 27 countries unanimously agree. And Russia just got locked out. January 26, 2026. The EU passed Regulation EU 2026-261. Published February 7th. This isn't a temporary sanction. It's a binding legal ban on Russian gas imports. Here's the kicker. To reverse it, all 27 EU member states have to agree. Every single one. This isn't politics. This is permanent legal architecture. 27 countries, each with its own economic interests, its own allies, its own domestic politics. They all have to agree at once. The odds, 0.3%. Statistically impossible. Translation. This doesn't get reversed. Ever. Here's the critical difference. A sanction? A president can lift it with a pen. A government changes. A backroom deal gets cut. It's gone. But this regulation is different. It's locked into the EU's legal structure. 27 countries just burned 5 years and €47 billion dismantling their dependence on Russian energy. 27 countries that built alternatives and sold energy independence to their voters. The chance they all agree to reverse this? Zero. This isn't a wartime stopgap. It's a guillotine. And it just fell. But here's the twist. The ban isn't immediate. The EU structured this as a staged execution. 4 dates. 4 moments when different types of Russian gas get cut off. Why phase it? Logistics? No. Psychology. April 25, 2026. Short-term LNG deals banned. Anything under 6 months is gone. June 17, 2026. Short-term pipeline contracts gone. January 1, 2027. Long-term LNG gone. September 30th and November 1st, 2027. all pipeline contracts gone. Why not just turn off the tap at once? Because the EU is weaponizing time. Each deadline triggers panic buying. European companies with Russian contracts rush to hoard before the cutoff. Here's the genius. Each buying wave accelerates the shift away from Russia. You stock up now because you know you're cut off in 6 months. But that means you're funding alternative infrastructure, locking in LNG from other suppliers, training your business to run without Russia. It's genius. The ban forces the exact behavior that locks it in permanently. Proof. In 2025, the EU spent 7.2 billion on Russian LNG, the year before the ban. Why dump money if you're breaking up? Because the phased ban lets you transition. Bulk up now while you build alternatives. By the time the final deadline hits, you don't need Russia anymore. This isn't an energy crisis. This is economic warfare disguised as bureaucracy. Now here's where it gets darker. This ban didn't start on January 26th. The trap was being built long before that. And when you see how it was engineered, it's surgical. Picture this. You're Putin. You've built 2 massive pipelines on the Baltic seabed, Nord Stream 1 and 2. Together, 110 billion cubic meters of Russian gas streaming straight to Europe every year. This isn't pipes. This is leverage. Political power in steel and concrete. One valve turn and you cool down Europe's politics. And then they exploded. Not damaged, destroyed. September 2022. Underwater explosions ripped the pipelines open. That's step 1. But here's what most miss. The physical damage was just the setup. July 2025. The EU legally bans using Nord Stream. Period. Even if someone repairs it, even if governments change, even if the war ends, using those pipes is illegal. See what that means? Putin has more than a broken pipe problem. He has a legal death sentence. Those lines can't run. Ever. Think about what that does psychologically. For decades, Europe's entire energy system depended on Russia. Fridges, factories, hospitals all running because Putin didn't flip the off switch. That was the deal. Cheap energy. Russian influence. That was the bargain. Nord Stream made it automatic. No deals with transit countries. No risky routes through Poland or Ukraine. Just gas flowing straight into Europe's industrial core. Result. Without it, Putin needed a plan B. The Arctic. Now the trap clicks shut. Putin's plan B wasn't fantasy. It was real. It had a name. Stockman 2. Stockman 2 is a massive Arctic gas field, one of the world's biggest undeveloped reserves, the kind of field that makes oil executives drool. Development cost? $60 billion. That's not a project. That's a do-or-die bet. And Putin made it. Because Stockman 2 wasn't really about gas. It was about bypassing Europe entirely. No need for pipes through Poland or Ukraine if you're shipping LNG from the Arctic. No need for European permission if you're selling straight to Asia. Stockman 2 was the escape route. It was Putin's gamble to turn his European exile into irrelevance. Then Norway shut it down. Not a diplomatic protest, a hard freeze. Norway positioned itself so developing Stockman 2 became impossible. Logistically impossible. Politically impossible. Putin had no counter. The cruel irony, 60 billion in investment, years of planning. A field that could have replaced all Nord Stream capacity. Neutralized by one country, using geography as a weapon. Norway simply locked down the Arctic. Not here. Not now. Not ever. No shots fired. No formal sanctions. Just positioning. And Putin was powerless. Norway has NATO behind it. Has the EU. Touch that blockade and you're at war with the West. Putin knows he can't win that fight. Result. Putin's escape route vanished before it was ever built. But even if Stockman 2 had happened, even if Norway hadn't blocked it, even if Putin had built it, he'd still be stuck. Because gas in the ground is worthless if you can't move it. And moving Arctic gas requires a working transport corridor. That's the Northern Sea Route. The Northern Sea Route is Putin's dream Arctic corridor. His goal? 80 million tons per year. That's exactly how much he needed to replace the pipelines he lost, make it profitable, and prove Russia doesn't need Europe. In 2025, 37 million tons, half his target. Actually a 2.3% drop from 2024. And here's the kicker. That includes everything. Minerals, containers, General cargo. Energy? A fraction of that. Putin promised 80 million, delivered 37. The shortfall? 43 million tons. That's not a number. That's the gap between working Arctic corridor and frozen pipe dream. Why is it failing so hard? 3 problems that feed each other. First, inadequate infrastructure. You need nuclear icebreakers, deep-sea terminals rated for extreme cold, transfer stations on sea ice. Billions each. Russia has built maybe half of what's needed. Second, technological freeze-out. Western firms supplied the Arctic tech navigation systems, LNG equipment, infrastructure. All cut off. Putin has the resources but not the tech to extract at scale. Third, a wrecked economy. Arctic LNG is brutally expensive. You need huge volume to break even. But you can't get volume without infrastructure. Can't build infrastructure without profit. You're trapped. That's a death spiral. Putin's locked in it. Here's the full picture. Nord Stream, destroyed and banned. Stockman 2, locked down by Norway. Northern Sea Route, 43 million tons short. This isn't a problem. It's a trap. Putin has no pipes, no Arctic backup, no transport corridor. Decades of energy infrastructure, cut at 3 points at once. So here's the question. Did Europe survive? For years the story was, Europe will freeze without Russian gas. The economy will tank. Putin holds the ultimate weapon. What actually happened? In 2021, before Ukraine, Russia owned 75% of Europe's natural gas. Total control, total vulnerability. One valve, and Europe blacks out. War happened. Sanctions hit. Nord Stream exploded. Europe sprinted to diversify. LNG from Norway, America, Qatar. New regasification terminals. Long-term contracts locked in. Energy efficiency ramped up. February 2026, after the ban kicked in, Russia's share, 13%. From 75 to 13 in 5 years. That's not a market shift. That's a structural meltdown. And here's what should terrify Moscow. Gas prices stayed stable. Stable. No energy crisis, no rolling blackouts, no factories going dark, no frozen Germans. The whole story Putin sold Europe needs Russian gas to survive got demolished by reality. That ultimate weapon? A bluff. And once you expose a bluff, it dies. You can't threaten people with something they've just proven they don't need. This changes everything geopolitically. For decades, Russia weaponized energy. Eastern Europe flirting with NATO, gas cut. Germany considering sanctions. Whispers about energy dependence. It worked. It shaped politics, limited options, forced deals, until it didn't. Because now Europe has proof it was theater. Europe didn't just survive without Russian gas, it thrived. GDP up, factories running, people warm. Once you prove dependence was fake, the threat becomes worthless, forever. You can't blackmail someone who's just proven they don't need you.